Good morning. I'm Jeremy Van Loo on 93.7 FM, The Mix for the Coach's Corner Football Show, the 2022 edition. Joining me this morning is Nathan Lambert, Coach Szynal, and the man of the hour, Coach John Reutebuch. How we doing, gentlemen?
Good.
Excellent.
Good morning.
Good morning it is. So let's see. Football action is in play. We're going to talk Tippy Valley here a little bit later on. But before we get started officially talking football, let's talk about Nathan Lambert, Coach Szynal. What did you think about this kid, this Wawasee graduate, a graduate of Purdue University, a graduate of Coach John Reutebuch's football program when he played here, coached underneath him at the middle school level, and now is calling football?
He is tremendous. You know, it's really funny because I always get there early because I have to, walk around, interview the opposing coaches. And I come up to the press box, and who was there? Nathan. And what did he have set up? Everything. And it was all done. And I'm thinking, holy cow, I couldn't do that in about, 4 or 5 lifetimes. So he was great to work with, and I think he did a great job.
He sure did. So, Nathan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Nathan Lambert. I'm here from Syracuse, obviously. Like you guys said, played football here, graduated in 2012. Got the opportunity to coach for this program for 6 years, and then decided this year, unfortunately, my work was a little too strenuous. Had to take a step back, but this opportunity presented itself, and I decided to jump right on it.
Well, let's just be honest with the listening audience. The opportunity did present itself because I am your uncle, and I made that phone call, and I had some heavy encouragement to my nephew here. But in all seriousness, I said, hey, I'm in a pickle. Mr. Dixon, he's taken a job up at Fairfield and is doing some extra duties. And we do have student broadcasters for basketball, 2 of them this year, which is great, but none of them can do football. So I said, hey, you want to try something new? And you stepped up to the challenge. And I think you did an amazing job last night. So
Thank you.
Glad to have you part of the team.
Big shoes to fill with Bill Dixon, but I'll try my best this year.
Yeah, but Kaz needs a little young blood around him now, right?
I sure do. Working with a octogenarian, and here we have just a little over a teenager. I mean, that says a lot.
It sure does. It sure does. So, again, welcome. And, of course, welcome to you, Coach Kaz. I don't know how many years total you have been broadcasting with Bill and, of course, with us here at Wawasee High School in total, but it's been
a couple.
North of 30 probably, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And, this is a great school system to be in, and doing all these CTE programs and all that other stuff. It's just a phenomenal place to graduate from and to go. And look, he even went to Purdue. Yeah. Same place my wife went to. She's going to love you.
Boiler up.
Boiler up, right?
Well, that's probably enough about Coach Kaz, Nathan Lambert, and myself. Let's get to the man of the hour here. The guy, this is his show. He's the one who dictates what it is that we're going to talk about, and it's Coach John Reutebuch. So welcome, Coach.
Good morning.
So let's talk Wawasee Warrior football.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome Nathan to the broadcast part of the football program, and fine young man, and he knows the program from the inside out, and so I'm sure he's going to do an excellent job. I don't really get a chance to listen to the radio show all that much, but I know he'll do a great job. And Kaz, it's great to have you back.
Oh, I love being here. It's great, and COVID took me away for a while, but now I'm back, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to do this with you guys.
Cool.
And one thing, too, that I'd like to bring up, this year's seniors was my very first year of coaching middle school football. So it kind of goes hand in hand that, all these players I get to see that I get to coach.
You're very familiar with the senior lineup then. Good.
Well, if he's very familiar with the playbook, don't be on the air talking all the plays,
no, I won't give the trade secrets out.
Secrets on the radio. Coach might have a problem with that. So, well, Coach Reutebuch. So it's the 2022 football season, and I got the privilege and honor of taking your boys down to Manchester University. And then bringing them back home safely in a school bus this summer.
That's always important.
So I know you have a summer-type program. Let's talk a little bit about what you did this past summer to get prepared for the season.
Okay. Honestly, it starts in the off season right after football season's over, and you're planning things out, everything from schedule to I'm having meetings with seniors about leadership, about what we want to change, what we want to do, what's their mantra, all kinds of things, and then getting in the weight room. Our strength and conditioning program has really taken leaps and bounds, and it's going to take a couple years, but it started with Brady Nyland, and we were lucky enough to get Connor Galland to come in when Brady left for Speedway, and it's helped all our athletes. We have a very good strength and conditioning program within the school day, whereas in the past you would have to try to work that in after practice, before practice, something like that. So that is going to help immensely, and we've already seen kids getting stronger, bigger, faster, all those things. As the years go on, and hopefully we have the same setup, our athletes will get bigger, faster, stronger from a younger age on up, and so they're able to perform at top levels when they're going through their high school years. So that's the off season, and then we get to June, and we had a busy June. We're still conditioning, we're still lifting, but we add in a lot more football stuff. And one of those things was going to Manchester University for 3 days and competing. I think there was 9-10 different teams there. Now, we didn't compete against every single one, but we had 2 scrimmages a day, and watching film, and really gives us a chance to get kids reps and evaluate how kids are doing, who's looking good, who needs to work on this, that kind of thing. Very early in June, we went down to Ball State, my alma mater, and to a 7-on-7 tournament, and played all day. A lot of games, 6 games, I believe, is what we ended up playing, and that was a good experience. And getting some kids that hadn't been a part of the program in there, and getting some kids reps and quarterbacks throwing the football, those kind of things, that aspect of the game. We had 11-on-11, June 30th, right before we had moratorium, and that was over at Bremen. And we competed with 3 other schools, and again, getting guys reps, getting them a chance to experience against another school, working on the things that we've been working on all summer. And of course, we had 3 practices throughout that June time period on Thursdays. So we had a super busy June. Really good off season, and then in July we had moratorium week, and then we come back and we had a practice, and then we had our own 11-on-11, which we hosted. That we had 3 other schools come in, and that was really good for us. And then you get to August, and it's time. We had a team camp right before August hit, the real time. Brought in the freshmen, incorporated them. Did a lot of fundamental work back to the beginning, getting everything squared away so we could hit the ground running when official practice started August 1st. And so we've been at it since August 1st. We had a scrimmage over at Mishawaka Marion. We felt pretty good about the results there. We did a pretty decent job. One of the things we've been working on is being more physical, and we accomplished that. And we're also working on the culture still. That's an ongoing project, and handling adversity and pushing through some tough things. And when you make a mistake, you don't hang your head. You come back for the next play, because people are going to make plays on any level. And so we're still working on some of those things, but feel good about this year's team. The seniors have provided great leadership. Our captains this year are David Anderson, Brendan Freeman, and Cameron Zimmerman, and they have provided very good leadership. We've had very good attendance over the summer, and part of that is due to the senior leadership in the accountability groups. Each senior has an accountability group that they're responsible, making sure guys get to workouts, making sure guys get to practice, making sure kids have rides, encouraging them, teaching them along the way. This is how this works. This is what you're supposed to do, and being positive. And maybe a kid's down, they're supposed to pick them up. Those kind of things, and those are the kind of things we talk about in the off-season leadership as well. It's not just those 3 guys. There's been some kids that have really turned it around as far as where they were mentally and leadership wise, and that's the whole point of the accountability group, is to give them a chance to be leaders.
How receptive are they to those leadership roles? I mean, this might be something totally new for them that they've never experienced, but as we all sit around this table right now, we know how important it is to develop those skills.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of why I do it, because not everybody gets a chance to be in that kind of role, and we want to give them a chance. And everybody's different. Everybody handles it a different way, and for the most part, our seniors have embraced it and like it. Give them a chance to do something, and but we're dealing with kids, 17, 18 in some case kids, and sometimes they need a little help too in what's good leadership and what's leading by example and things like that. But I think it's a very, very positive thing, not only for football, but just in life in general, to give them a chance to do that. You look at things differently when you're the leader than when you're part of the group. And so it also hopefully gives them a broader spectrum.
Kaz, you have a question.
Yeah, I just had a question. The numbers. I mean, gee, my goodness, the numbers last night, I counted close to 50 kids out.
Yeah.
I mean, you had 50 kids dressed.
Yeah.
And you've been around football for a little while. How huge is that?
It is big. We're building the program, and one of the goals was to get more participation, and that's all the way through. But I'm glad you recognize that, and we are at 50, a little bit over 50 kids, and that's big. We still got to shore up some areas. We're a little thin in the line area. We don't have as many big guys that want to play football and stick with it. It's not easy, and so we still got to shore up some of those areas. But we like our numbers. 50 some kids in grade sophomore through senior. It's not a bad number, and we've had decent numbers at our freshman level. This will be my fourth year. We've had pretty much 30 come out each year. This year we're at 25, I think, came out, and so those are good freshman numbers. And we can keep playing on three levels, and at this level of NLC play, you got to have that and develop kids and develop them where they're at. And so that's good. Thanks for recognizing that, because that is another goal that we've been working on and trying to get to.
Well, to piggyback on development, I want to talk about coaches, and we only have about 2 minutes here in this segment. But let's talk real quick about the middle school program. Of course, Nathan just mentioned that he's coming off of coaching at the middle school level. So what's going on with the middle school level?
Yes, we've made a couple changes with the middle school level, and we're still in the process of some more changes, but trying to consolidate things together, more unified, more communication, more utilization of all the coaches together for like individual time where they work on specific group skills, the running backs and the receivers and the linemen, those kind of things. Continuity. Seeing the kids as seventh graders and then eighth graders, you get to take a look at those eighth grade coaches. We'll see them 2 years rather than just here they are, figure it out, kind of thing. And so trying to build that unification of the middle school and, again, getting more kids out. And I know we got more kids out this year.
Much more.
I think there was 38 and 35 the last time I heard, and he said there was some more people coming out. And when I say he said is Chris Cotton. He has taken the position of feeder program coordinator, and so he coordinates between our Pee Wee program and our middle school program. Really heavy with the middle school program, setting up a template of practices, how practices should be set up. He and I met and we've talked through some things and what I want to see at the middle school level. So it's better for their development and it's easier transition for them from middle school to high school. Holding kids accountable and proper warm-ups and what drills to work on. what offense and defense you run, and all those kind of things. So Chris will be in that position, and we've already seen quite a few things that have been positive and have worked towards, building that program back up. It's not easy finding coaches these days, and so people giving up their time and to spend time with kids and helping them develop is amazing, and we feel like we got it moving in the right direction. Also at the high school level, pretty much have my staff back, which is great. Not always been able to do that. We have some new freshman coaches, Blake Haney and Evan Gregory, and we also have Scott Hatfield. And then we've added a varsity coach who's also kind of mentoring the freshman coaches, and that's Josh Moore. Josh is a teacher now at Wawasee Middle School. He has 30-some years of experience. He's been a head coach. He's been an athletic director at Northfield and Whitco, and we really are reaping the benefit of having him as part of the staff too. So those are some off-season changes.
All right. Well, Coach Reutebuch, it sounds like you had a pretty busy summer. Did you have time to relax at all?
I got a few times in the pool and out on the lake, but it was few and far between. With the airfare, we decided we were a staycation and stay home, and that worked out well for me because of the busyness of the summer. But, you want change, you got to put the work in, and so that means coaches too. So it was good.
He did have time to mow his lawn. I drive by his house all the time to go to my father-in-law's, and he always keeps a nice, clean yard. And I kind of do the same thing too. So
It's good exercise.
no.
how it
We
works
ride a
out.
rider. Kaz.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on.
It's a rite of man's passage.
That's
You
right.
have to have a good lawn, or you're losing it.
That's right. That's right. And you got to have great lines too.
Yes.
Come on. All right. Well, when we come back, let's talk about last night's football game at Tippy Valley. More Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix coming up. Welcome back to Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix. I'm Jeremy Van Loo, alongside Nathan Lambert, Coach Szynal, and of course, Coach John Reutebuch. So the regular season opened up last night, Friday Night Lights, and I think these guys will tell you here in just a moment they were pretty excited about getting the season underway for this 2022. We are putting COVID behind us. We are moving on. We're plowing forward. And the trip was made down to Tippecanoe Valley High School for the opening of the regular season. And, I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit about this football game. Nathan, it was your first broadcast. As Kaz said, you set up the equipment. Yeah, we had a few little glitches with the cell phone service in the building there, but we did get to hear you. When we had the problem, primarily it was halftime when everybody was moving around. So I'm going to let you two talk to Coach and tell us a little bit about the game last night.
Yeah, Coach. So one thing that I took away from your keys to the game, and then earlier in the first segment here, you talked about the physicality of the game, and that was on display early and often.
Oh yeah.
What can you say that you were proud of your team of going through those four quarters like that?
Well, we were physical, and that was one of the goals, and that's what I've been talking about all week, is we need to meet physicality with physicality, and we need to be a more physical football team. We want to leave an impression on any team that we play that, wow, we may have won the ball game or we lost the ball game. Those guys bring it, and they hit. And so, all things are taught with proper technique, tackling form and blocking and everything. But that was one thing I can take away from last night's game is I felt like we were physical at the point of attack. Being able to sustain that physicality through four quarters, that's something we're going to have to continue to work on. But there definitely was a lot of banging going on out in that field on both sides. I don't know if you guys noticed, but number 29, Wade Jones, went out in the first half, and I'm not a doctor, and I don't want to speculate on his injury or whatever, but I'm sure that was a direct result of some good, hard hitting going on out there, and I saw several kids on both sides, laying the wood. And it's good to see that kind of physical football, and that's what it's going to take for us to be successful. And being able to maintain that with, we got good numbers. We talked about in the last segment about having 50-some kids, but we're still a little limited at the varsity level on how deep we can go, especially in the line area. So we had some guys that are going both ways and on special teams. And when you get to that third and fourth quarter, it's wearing on you. And it was a little bit warmish last night, and so that wore on our kids too. And but conditions are the same for both sides, and part of our conditioning and weightlifting and those kind of things. We're trying to get ourselves prepared for it, but those are some of the realities.
Coach, talk a little bit about the injuries last night. I mean, there was several people that were hurt.
And
you're going to find out about that today more than last night.
Yeah, there's typical bumps and bruises, but we really came out of that game without any injuries.
And that's very good.
Yeah,
that's very
yeah.
good.
That's huge.
The trainer was very active last night, especially in the second half, but that was all cramping. And, we break out every day of practice and anything we do with eat, sleep, and hydrate. But, again, we're talking about high school boys that, they'll chant it, but they don't always practice it. And I think one of the things we're going to have to reaffirm this Saturday morning and throughout the week is making sure you're hydrating properly throughout the week. Just drinking water on game night is just going to load you down, and that does nothing for your system to be fully hydrated.
So, Coach, one of the things that I noticed, especially from the line of scrimmage, from a former lineman, was the trenches were pretty fierce last night, and there was multiple times where I'd see, Big Chance Flannery standing up, Allbur, which is 240 pounds, 6 foot, and meet him in the hole. What can you take from your offensive and defensive line performance?
Offensive line, to start with, we're undersized. I mean, we don't have maybe one kid that's 250 pounds, and the rest of them are much lighter. And so Tippy Valley had some heavier kids, some bigger kids.
So, they're very large gentlemen.
They're pretty big boys over there. So, the offensive line, especially in the first half, I felt like met physicality with physicality, and they've been working against kids all summer from other schools that are just as big, if not bigger, and so they're used to that. But I was pleased with physicality, especially in the first half. I think in the second half, wear and tear, and it's starting to wear down a little bit, and we're going to have to work on that. And when we get a couple guys back, Brendan Freeman's out right now, and he would be a starter. He's a captain, that kind of thing. We plan on him being back this next weekend, and Cameron Reyes, defensive line. We're going to have him back for the Goshen game. So being thin in that area already, and then missing 2 of our seniors that are mainstays, that's difficult to work through. Defensive line wise, we had some really good plays, and there were, again, second half, I think you probably noticed that we were struggling to hold the line at that point. And part of that, again, is we had 3 guys to rotate through on that interior line, and those guys are also playing offensive line. And so pounding against guys that are bigger than you the whole game, that's something we're going to have to get better at, and we will get better at. And we get a couple of those guys back, it'll make a big difference.
Okay, I'm gonna sound dumb here, but how do you do that? If your guys are small and you don't have any big guys to go up against in practice, how do you do that? Is it only game time you experience that, or what? Or do you coaches get up there and say, "Come on, boys, knock me down"?
Well, no, the coaches don't get up there and come on, knock me down.
Because you're no small little guy.
But I'm old. I'm brittle, so. I actually got rolled into last week, and I survived it without blowing out my knee, and that was an accomplishment in itself. The summer activities, that's a big part of it. The 11-on-11s is, you're in shells, but you're still live up top. The Manchester camp, all those things give you a chance to go against those different kind of kids. Now, in practice simulation, we have to go best on best, and so to try to simulate as best we can. And so, we don't really have big guys to work on in practice, but we have to build that endurance and that strength and continuing to work on our technique, because good technique will help you defeat that. And
No matter what the size.
no matter what the size. And there's a lot of teams that prefer smaller linemen because they can go longer at their full pace and quicker and be able to pull and move and things like that. And so it's not just a total disadvantage, but when you're in a game like last night that's physical, pound, 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 it may take its toll, and it'd be in the first game where, this is the real deal. You never know what you have until you're actually in that first game. It was evident that that's an area we got to work on. And so in practice and in our reps and in our technique and from film study, we got to get better in that area. Jimmy Johnson was one that quoted, fatigue makes cowards of us all, So fatigue, we were not, I'm not a big fan of Jimmy Johnson, but I will give him that quote. That's a good one. And what that means is we got to continue to work to be in shape. Got to continue to work on our technique, continue to work on our intensity in practice to carry over into games so we can handle that heavy load.
One of the things I thought was really interesting, Nate and I talked about this right at the very beginning, is what we used to call, gang tackling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, normally if you see somebody, he's down, I'll just sort of trot over. And now, your guys did not do that. I mean, if somebody had somebody, I couldn't even count the number of kids, and he and I were talking about that. They were getting off to the person that was tackled. How do you do that?
Well, that's intentional too. Swarming to the football, that is one of our mantras and one of the things that we reinforce in practice. And part of that's pursuit drill. Part of that's in practice. The play might be across the field, but never assume it's going to happen. And so that area, what we were pretty pleased with as well. Early in the game, good tackling form, and as the game wore on, we missed some tackles here and there, and again, that goes back to proper technique, and you get tired, you start losing that focus a little bit, but even in the opening kickoff, we had a swarm of guys flying down the field and being in on the tackle, and that's exactly what we need to have defensively, and defensively. There's a couple things we got to work on, but as far as the hitting goes and the physicality and the swarming to the football, I think we did a pretty good job of that. Again, it just keeping doing that for four quarters.
I just think that was one of the biggest things that you did, that the team did well last night.
Yeah.
And we both of us like to see that. And it was, some guy would hold somebody maybe for 10 seconds, and then boom, he was killed. I mean, there'd be 4 or 5 guys on him. And like I said before, just 2 minutes ago, I had trouble figuring out who actually made the first tackle to give him credit for it.
Yeah, and that's one thing, too, as the night wore on and as, that fatigue started to set in, you could see, some of the arm tackles, the first guy, he wouldn't be quite in the right position and it'd come off. But what was nice to see is that first broken tackle didn't turn into a 60-yard run. It was okay. He went 3 more yards, and then there was 3 more warriors right there. That was really nice to see. Even deep in the game, when the outcome was kind of secured, to see them still rallying to the football and still grabbing onto that concept.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what we want to try to keep away from the big plays. If you can limit the big plays and the big long runs, the big pass plays, and make them try to grind it out, you got a lot better a chance of holding them. And I think for the most part we did, but that opening drive really, really wore down. That was a long 16 plays, I think, and about 7.5, 8 minute long drive, and those same kids had to turn around and play offense. And so being warm and just a pound, both sides. They were very fatigued. There are going to be a lot of sore guys over there too.
Coach Murray already talked about that when he came up to enjoy the buffet afterwards. And but both teams, we both talked. Ori and I just briefly went over the physical, and he was really complimenting your guys. He says, "Oh my," he said, this is for the first game. He says it was hugely physical.
Yeah,
and it was a hugely physical game. And one other thing you guys didn't give up.
No.
So anyhow, I thought it was a very interesting game, and it's going to be a great season, I think.
A lot, I'm sure, was learned in that game.
Absolutely.
And later today or this morning, you're going to be talking to your boys about that. So
Yeah.
maybe we can just briefly, when we come back, just kind of give an idea what positives you definitely want to tell the boys and what they need to work on. And then we'll talk about a home game
Yep.
coming up next week here at Warrior Field against West Noble. So we'll come back with more Coach's Corner with John Reutebuch on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Welcome back to the Coach's Corner Football Show on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. I'm Jeremy Van Loo alongside Nathan Lambert, Coach Szynal, and Coach John Reutebuch. Opened up the season last night at Tippy Valley, and we were talking about Tippy Valley, and when I said we would come back, so Coach, on a Saturday morning after a game, tell us a little bit about how that works. I mean,
Yeah.
what is it that you do with the boys?
Right.
In regards to that game, and if you want to talk a little bit more specifically about what was good, bad in last night's game.
Okay. First of all, we bring them in for what we call bumps and bruises, and we utilize our pool here at the high school. It's better on the joints and the knees, and they still can get that lactic acid worked out that you build up from intense athletic performance. And our strength and conditioning coordinator runs that, Connor Glon, and we have one of our students come in and be a lifeguard, so we're following all the guidelines there, but they come in and do that first. They also come in and see the trainer if they got, we talked earlier about, the bumps and bruises, and to see, if anybody's got anything that needs further treatment or anything like that. Then we will go to one of the classrooms and watch huddle, and each of our coordinators, including myself, pick about 10 slides, 5 to 10 slides of teachable moments, whether it's technique, it's great effort, positives and negatives both, things that we need to work on or things that we want to exemplify, that this is great effort, this is great, technique, those kind of things. And then we talk overall about where we need to go from here. And so coaches go through and watch film a lot. That part of the game has never changed. And so you evaluate positions, and then you make sure that the coordinator communicates that with, if you're the running backs coach, Kaz, then if I was the offensive coordinator, I would tell you, hey, our running backs need to work on this play, their technique on that. Nathan was a line coach, and we would work on that. And those coaches are evaluating their own groups as well. And so you're getting a lot of evaluation and technique and then correction. And so Monday is Mental Monday, and that is a lot of scouting report and a lot of things. This is what we're going to do, and then you incorporate all the things we talked about. Here's what we need to do better. Here's what we need to work on, those kind of things. So that's what Saturday looks like. This Saturday we have a home JV game, and so we encourage all our boys to go out there and support the JV guys, because they're helping them get ready for Friday night, and this is their opportunity to play. And so we want to go out there and support them in what they're doing, and that's pretty much it for Saturday.
I got to ask Kaz a question here. So you coached some football back in the day. I mean,
Rode my dinosaur into that.
what with what Coach Reutebuch was just saying about these guys getting in a pool and lactic acid,
Oh, yeah.
and all these things. When you were coaching, was all that stuff talked about back in those days,
No.
or is this what medically we've advanced to helping young athletes?
Oh yeah, and he can testify to this a little bit. Back in the day, you never had any of that stuff. I mean, you came in, you looked over your film, you talked with your coaches.
You walked a mile uphill in the snow.
Right. And then the team came in, and then you did lighter drills on Saturday. Sunday, we always had off, and then Monday was practice again.
Yeah.
We'd talk about on Saturday what we were going to do. Sometimes we'd even come in on Sunday, the coaches would, and go over exactly what we wanted to do for the whole week. So there was no pool there.
Well,
and we didn't. The other big thing is we didn't have as an athletic trainer. There were, the coaches had to learn how to do all this stuff themselves because there was none of the schools had it back in the day. Yeah. But things have progressed.
Oh, yeah.
You and I, it's huge how much better and safer they've gotten.
Well, and Coach in the previous segment or two mentioned the strength and conditioning program here at Wawasee. What I have learned, I'm not involved with it, but what I have learned is that we're blessed to have that. And we're also blessed, as you said, during the school day, these kids can work on that. And overnight, you're not going to build that mass and what have you, but being properly fit, and as the way I understand it, is that's going to hopefully deter injury and what have you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we when I look at this high school level program, because it wasn't like that even when I was here back in the 80s, it's a lot like college and pro. Same kind of facilities.
Absolutely. Those things trickle down, and I tease Kaz, but it's the truth. We did not have strength and conditioning coaches. We did not have trainers. We did not have the technology we can use to get in there. All those things. We didn't have a pool to go in and work out the bumps and bruises. And, some might say that those were better times, made us tougher, but that, if you're going to stay up with the Joneses and a lot of schools have strength and conditioning coaches. All schools have trainers and all those kind of things. So it is advanced quite a bit from back in the day. And there's some things they get little perks too, like that locker room is cool as it could be.
Tell me
And
about that.
Our old locker room, you sweat more in the locker room than you did outside, and so
That's right.
you
Get
didn't
out on
want to
the
go in
field.
the locker room if you didn't have to. So that's a good assessment. There's a lot more to support our athletes these days, and we have done that here.
How much of that is IHS AA sanctioned or
A lot.
Like you will do this?
Yes, there is a lot. And Kaz talked about coming in on Sundays. That's illegal now. You can't
Really?
You can't bring kids on
Not
Sundays.
the kids, but the coaches could.
Coaches, yes.
Yeah,
Coaches, we meet.
Yeah,
but
we didn't bring kids
okay.
in, but we did have the coaches would come. in.
You're limited on how many contact practices you can have a week. You can only have
wow.
2 full contact practices, or
How many?
2 days of full contact practices. And so
Whoa.
that's why we have men on Monday. And of course, you got your pregame. You don't want to bang your kids up the day before a
No.
game as well. So you got 2 days to get full speed, full contact practices in. And then so that's your week. Now, they're still busy. There's still a lot of time that they put in,
Drills.
but you just got to go about it a little bit differently. Right from the get-go in the August, it is prescribed how long you can practice and what you can wear to get kids into that, which, I think we need to. I got my own opinion on that. We're
I wanna
already
hear
doing
it.
stuff.
Come
and,
on, give it to us.
I think we got to adjust to the times. We used to have that so kids could adjust into wearing pads and all that stuff. But in the advent of way it is set up now, and we have 11 on 11s and camps all summer, and everybody's doing it, that, I think the kids are ready to get into it a little bit quicker. And I know it's the health and safety of everybody, but reality is those kids have already been working hard all summer long. They don't need to start back at square one. But I don't legislate for IHSAA. I just have to follow the rules. So that's what we do.
Nathan, so you said you graduated here from Wawasee in 2012. You played football. Are you hearing anything different today that the program's doing with their athletes from when you were here just a short time ago?
Oh, definitely. If you remember, our weight room was upstairs. So
The wrestling room, right?
So we would go upstairs and lift, and that room
Next to the
itself
wrestling room,
would
yeah.
be, probably 20 degrees hotter than anywhere else.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're up there, you're already trying to lift, you're already drenched in sweat. And then the other thing, the pool, that would have been, revelation. Yes, we had some ice baths and stuff like that when I was here, but, Saturday morning it was, okay, come in. You're going to get your treatment from the athletic trainer, and then we were going to go do some calisthenics and some conditioning outside to loosen you up. But Not, there was never a rhyme or reason. It was, hey, we're just going to run through calisthenics this morning. Okay, that's it. But now, it's such a detailed process of recovery from one thing to the next. And, I think that's great for kids.
It's scientifically backed.
Exactly.
We got a strength and conditioning guy that's what he went to school for. And that's what, getting the athletes back to peak performance and getting them recovery and getting them to work on things in strength and conditioning that directly apply to their sport. I mean, all of that is scientifically backed and more specific. I know back in the day, it was about getting guys in shape and what they felt like was in shape, and it was more of an endurance survival thing. And if you could survive that, then you're ready to go play football.
Don't you think kids are better fit now than in my day?
In some ways,
they seem
yes.
bigger and stronger because of all this guidance that they have.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. But you're still dealing with high school kids, and the old saying of eat, sleep, and hydrate. Eat properly. I think kids these days have access to all kinds of food or life on the go that they don't eat properly.
Yeah.
I feel like, that we probably ate better back in those days.
Yes.
The sleep with our devices and those things, kids aren't getting proper sleep. And science will tell you they need to have more sleep than us adults in recovery and all that thing. And then hydration. I mean, last night was a great example. We got to continue to hydrate and all the way through. And, there's evils out there like energy drinks and things like that.
It's liquid.
That suck out that hydration. And so, those are things that we need to do better at. And so we got to get to that point and keep educating our athletes on what is needed. And between our trainer, Trevor Pruitt, our strength and conditioning coordinator, Connor Galan, and then us coaches, reinforcing that, in practice, at the end of practice, those kind of things. The end product is we will have athletes that are at peak performance that they possibly can, and they're going to stay healthy, and they're going to learn a little something about what you need for your body.
What is that key message to your boys this morning about last night's game?
The sky's not falling. When you lose that first game and you have some things go wrong, as they do, getting them back on track, getting them back on focus of, okay, we didn't get it done this week, but we need to get it done next week. And so I told them that, this will reveal your character, how you approach tomorrow, which was today, and this next week is going to show us what we're made of. And that was my end message. I don't like to make big long speeches at the end of the game. They're tired, they're fatigued, and they're focused. They're not going to remember everything you say to them. It's better said Saturday morning when they're a little bit, had a little bit of rest and focus and talk about it and transition that to Monday. So the biggest thing in there is, hey, we had some positives. We have some things we definitely need to work on, and we fix some of those things, and we continue to do the positive things that we're doing. We're going to be successful. Just believe in the process, believe in what we're doing, and buy into it. We'll be fine.
Drink the Kool-Aid, as they say.
Exactly. Right? I don't know if that's the analogy I would use. I'm old enough to remember Jim Jones and that whole thing. So,
yeah, we won't talk about that. Yeah. All right, Coach. Well, when we come back, we are definitely going to talk about the upcoming contest here at Wawasee, as West Noble's coming to town. I do believe that they defeated Central Noble last night, at least last check.
Yes, they did.
That I saw last night. So we'll talk a little bit about the first home game of the 22 season here at Wawasee High School in a bit on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. With us, Coach John Reutebuch, Coach Szynal, and Nathan Lambert. I'm Jeremy Van Loo. And this is the final segment. We've been talking about Tippy Valley. And we're going to talk about this Friday night's upcoming game and the rest of the season. But before we came back to this segment, Kaz had a question for you about scouting reports. We were just talking about Huddle, how you use that to watch film and how all that's changed from the good old days. But you had a question for him about scouting.
Well, yeah, back in the day, like he and I were both shaking our heads in agreement. We'd have somebody, a couple adults usually, would go to the next game, and they would give us the stats. Yeah. And they would say, okay, now, and you were not, even back then, allowed to film. You could not take, of course, they didn't have cell phones back then, but you couldn't take a camera and film. That was illegal even back then, but you could take that. So the coach would, whoever it was, would come back. And then on Saturday, that was part of the Saturday group, we would discuss their stats and who was we had to watch out for. They had the whole pages that the coaches would go over. Has that changed at all?
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, that when I first got here 30 years ago, that was part of the scouting thing. I was a middle school coach, and it was either me and Tom Dickerson or me and Dave Matz would go scout for the varsity team. And after that game was over, we would meet the coaches back here and give our scouting report and give them our sheets of formations and plays and things like that. But also, there was a film exchange every Saturday morning. Right. You would meet a mutually agreed halfway place, usually a McDonald's or someplace like that.
That sounds a little shady there.
No. And you would meet and exchange film and probably chat a little bit with whoever it is, and maybe even have a little breakfast or so, and then you'd bring that back so the coaches could start to analyze that. And then you're right. Sundays were a lot of time spent in coaches' meetings, and so that has all changed. First of all, we don't meet on Sundays in person where they have to come in. That's something positive that came out of COVID. We can get on Google and have a Google Meet in the evening, so you can still be at your home and still have that conversation and talk through things. It's exactly the same, except you're in the comfort of your own home. And with a coach that has 3 coaches with newborn babies on the staff, that the wives like me better when it's that way. So it's all changed quite a bit. So in Huddle Exchange, they have to give you at least 2 films. So after the first game, they're going to give you their scrimmage and their first game film. And each team has to provide that. And then our conference bylaws, you give them whatever they want. If they want 5 films at that stage of the season, then you give them 5 films. You comply and you get the same thing back. And so by the end of the season, you got film on a team that you're playing. You got several films on them. And so, yes, that guides what we're doing. Scouting report, this is what they do. This is how they do it. Last night's game, perfectly scouted. I mean, there was not one thing that they did that we didn't know about. We were fully prepared on their scheme, what they want to do offensively, what they want to do defensively. The only thing you're a little bit in the dark on that first game is special teams, because you don't have that in your scrimmage, and things change from one year to the next. So kicker's not the same, all those kind of things, but they did exactly what they did last year, so we were well prepared there. That it was not an issue, but every game you go into, especially in the NLC, you're going to have well-coached teams, well-researched. They're going to know what you're doing. And, it's the same thing at every level, college and pro. They know what they're going to be in for. So it's more about the execution of the game plan and being able to stop what they want to do.
So that's scouting. Obviously, things have changed. So let's talk about the upcoming contest this Friday night.
Yep.
Here at Wawasee. West Noble's coming to town. So I just want to definitely promote the fact that that's going to be our first home game, and we're looking for Warrior Nation to come on out, do a little tailgating before, and get out here and support the Warriors. We'll get to that game here in just a moment, but let's preview the rest of the season. So we actually have back-to-back home games. The following week, September 2nd, is Goshen here at home. Then you travel to Plymouth on September 9th. And then it's back home here on September 16th against Concord. Then back on the road, September 23rd at Northridge. They had a big contest last night. They smoked 50 to something, right?
50-6.
Yeah. Concord, I think they lost.
They did.
Then it's homecoming. So put that in your calendar, folks. September 30th is
50
homecoming.
to 12.
50 to 12, okay. Homecoming, Warsaw.
Yes.
Playing the Tigers for homecoming on September 30th. That's always a great fun night. October 7th, we travel to Northwood. October 14th will be the final regular season game, and it's home. And Mishawaka comes to town. And then it's October 21st, the first round of sectionals. And I asked you if we knew where that venue would be, whether it's here or away. And that's part of the draw, right?
Yes. Yeah, we get to draw the weekend of the second to last game. And we find out who we play and where we play. And so we know going into the last game, that's what's coming up on the schedule. And so we got a new schedule this year. The NLC, after 30-plus years, has agreed to change up the schedule so you're not playing the same team in the same order in the same week. And so there's some things that have to be adjusted. Our game against Mishawaka is on purpose because they're in a different class, so you wouldn't face a sectional team and then turn right around and possibly face them again. So we will never have a Northwood or a Northridge or a Plymouth who are in our level, our class of as a last game, and that's to avoid that. So it makes it interesting, the shuffle, and it shuffles every couple of years, and so it's going to change your schedule and how your schedule lays out for you. And so, yeah, playing Goshen and Plymouth, the first two conference games, as opposed to the past where we played Northridge Concord. So that's changed.
Well, it's not conference play this coming Friday. West Noble, our friends from the East over at Ligonier, coming to town.
Yep.
Last night they had a big game against Central Noble, 33 to 6 or
Yeah.
7, something like that. So tell us a little bit about what West Noble looks like this year.
Well, West Noble, they're big. They have some big linemen. We actually did our exchange of lineups and rosters already on Friday. He sent those out. I think he had to take his boy to Purdue today, and so he wanted to get ahead of the game. And we've done our film exchange. Obviously, hadn't had a chance to get into that because we're still evaluating Tippy Valley. So we have what we need to start our process of getting into what they do and what was successful for them, and how we're going to stop it and what we're going to do against them. So we have started that process, and I know some kids over there and kids from the past. They've lost some kids, and they plugged in some new kids. I can tell you this, they're going to want to run the ball. I can tell you this, that they're going to be physical, and they're going to be similar to Tippy Valley as far as they want to play a physical brand of football, and we got to meet that physicality. And like you said, it's the first home game, and so playing under the lights at home has a little bit different feel to it as well. And one of the things when you're at home is there's not all the other things you have to navigate. The whole logistics of, takes forever to get down to Tippy Valley, and how they lay it out, the pregame, and how much time you have, and all those things. When you're at home, you pretty much control what you're doing when you do it. So that takes a whole lot of other stuff. And you're playing playing in front of your own parents and your fans. There's a lot more people usually at home games, although we had a great following last night, it felt like, and the fans were great. But you have more of that. So playing at home is a different feel, and we would like to be at home and defend that home turf, and so I think the kids will be fired up to do that.
Now, a lot of Wawasee kids know these West Noble kids.
They know them very well. One kid in particular, Mikey LeCount, actually went to school here at Milford School till middle school, and so they know each other really well. And there's more kids like that, even Tippy Valley. There's a lot of kids that have cousins or something like that over there. So these first two games are neighbors and backyard rivalry and those kind of things. It builds a little extra to it, and we like having games like that. And it also, Tippy Valley, that'll prepare us for NLC play. and West Noble, that'll prepare us for NLC play. And so, coaches have different philosophies on those early out-of-conference games. Some want to, make it easier so they can build it up, and some want to a test to get you ready for conference play, and I think our schedule does that.
So one thing I noticed last night with the Tibby Valley game is they ran a lot of, they get you going one way and then they, kind of
Misdirection. Yep.
draw back or snake back the other way. Is that the same style offense that West Noble's going to run, or?
No, they don't run that. West Noble typically offensively they'll run some formations like we run. They'll run a little spread. They'll do. Obviously, I haven't looked at what they're doing this year, but typically in the past, that's what they do. I think they're changing their defense this year. They used to be even front. Now they're going to be an odd front. So there's some things that are a little bit different. So we'll evaluate all that when we get to film and see what they're doing against Central Noble and have a better grasp of that. But again, early in the season, you don't have a whole lot to go on, and so we're going to get into what they did last year, and we're going to get into what they did against Central Noble and in their scrimmage, and then we'll have a pretty good grasp of what they're trying to do. But Tibby Valley is one of the things they do. It's a different kind of flexbone offense, flexbone formation, but they also are multi-formational. They went to shotgun. They did all kinds of different things, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying misdirection.
Saw the T formation last night. Yeah.
And so they do some misdirection and things like that to get you off your kilter a little bit. And, there were times that we handled that very well, and there were times that we over-pursued and were out of position, and it cost us. So, that's something that, we got to keep reinforcing that here's what happens when you don't do your job. And so we're going to have to continue to do that. I'm sure West Noble will see that.
Speaking of doing your job, your job, Coach. Obviously, it's a difficult one, but you got a great staff to help you out. But I got a question for you before we end today's show. It's a home game Friday night. West Noble's coming to town. First home game of the season. It's still warm out. Nobody's going to get cold, right? Yet. When you're on the sideline of this game, and I don't care if it's a home game or an away game, but particularly with a home game, and behind you is this wall of people, Wawasee Warrior fans who are screaming and shouting and supporting in the good times and the bad. How does that affect your job as a coach if you get and have the luxury of that mass of fans behind you?
Oh, it really, it's more for the kids. It's having that enthusiasm behind you helps the kids feel that energy and push through. For coaches, I imagine my other coaches are the same as me. I don't hear anything. All I am focused on is what's going on in the field and on our sideline. It really doesn't change anything that I do or how I do it. But for the kids, it makes a huge difference. Our cheer block, fans rooting you on and encouraging you, that makes a huge difference, and they do hear that. And the energy, when you got things going and the fans are roaring and things like that, that's huge. It gets your adrenaline going, and that's big for our kids and our athletes. And so, if you can come on out and root on the players and be positive and keep them going, it makes a huge difference for the kids, and it helps them quite a bit.
Coach, will it make any difference between this? He and I, Leighton and I were talking about this, between the turf and the grass field. When
it first began, there might have been a difference, but this day and age, I don't think so. There's so many schools that have turf now, and there's still a lot of schools that have grass. Both those first out-of-conference games, they have home grass fields, but anymore, I don't notice teams having difficulty with turf and grass. The only time you ever really run into something that's really drastic is if their field's not in good shape or the grass is extra long, whereas turf, it's the same everywhere you go. Some schools have a huge peak in the middle for drainage. That kind of plays into a little bit differently. Angola was really bad, but they put in turf since. So not really a huge deal as it used to be, but it makes a little bit of difference if you play a school on that grass and the the field's not in good shape, or you have that high peak because you're literally running downhill on the sidelines. So.
Well, Coach John Reutebuch, thanks for joining us again, not only this morning, but for this season. Coach Kaz, Nathan, thanks again, and we look forward to your guys' call. But, of course, as said, we want everybody to come out to Warrior Field Friday night and support the Warriors. Kickoff is at 7 o'clock. But if you can't make it, I wouldn't do my job if I didn't promote this wonderful program
Absolutely.
Here at Wawasee High School. Again, Nathan Lambert and Coach Kaz Szynal will have the call. Pregame 6:30 p.m., and that's going to be right here on 93.7 FM The Mix, online at 937themix.com. Let's see if I get the whole list in. We'll have live video on our YouTube channel, CPG-TV, and live video on the IHSAA Champions Network.
Wow.
I mean, you guys are just everywhere. Did you know that?
Everywhere.
Did you know that?
Well, I appreciate all you do, and thanks for having me and being able to promote our program and promote the kids and all the things that we're doing. And hopefully that helps parents and fans and the community understand what goes on behind the scenes.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much, Coach. And this has been Coach's Corner, the football show on 93.7 FM The Mix and online at 937themix.com.